Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. My name is Nakima Levy-Pounds. I am the president of the Minneapolis NAACP, as well as a civil rights attorney. Many of us have been camped out all night in front of the governor's mansion, and it is surrounding the egregious killing of Philando Castile at the hands of the St. Anthony Police Department. Our community is outraged by the shooting death of this young man. Many of us watched the video, and we are shaken to capacity at the thought of this man being killed, who seemed to comply with requests. We were chilled to the bone when watching his girlfriend, Diamond Reynolds, recount in a very calm way what happened that led to the shooting of Philando Castile. And we are just beyond outraged at the fact that a 4-year-old child was present as this incident happened. Not to mention the fact that Diamond Reynolds and her daughter were treated like criminals after they had just witnessed the death of their loved one. What this signifies to us is that the murder of a loved one. What this signifies to us is that Black lives don't really matter in the state of Minnesota. Because this is not the first time that we have seen an innocent African-American person or other person of color killed at the hands of the police department. Unfortunately, we have seen a pattern of situations in which officers have not been held accountable by our different systems of government. We are here standing in solidarity with the Castile family to say enough is enough. We are ready for a change to the laws and the policies in this state and in this country that allow people to be killed at point-blank range and in cold blood at the hands of officers in unwarranted circumstances. So we thank you all for being here today. You're going to hear from several speakers. And we're going to hear as well from Governor Mark Dayton, who came out and joined us, and he'll have a few words, and then we're going to hear from some additional speakers. At the end of hearing everyone speak, then we will take questions from the media. So as each person speaks, please do not shout and ask them questions, because I will instruct them not to answer at that time so that we can keep things moving. Are we clear? Yes. Are we clear? Yes. All right, thank you. So with that, the first speaker that I'm going to call up is Nathaniel Kalik, who is St. Paul NAACP, as well as a retired fireman.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. This particular case is probably the hardest, the most egregious of all police brutality and state-sponsored killing of our people. This case happened on Snelling Avenue, and it wasn't even a felony stop. It was a traffic stop. Larpener and off Snelling and Fry, excuse me. So this wasn't a felony stop. This officer pulled this car over, approached it, and the young brother complied every step of the way. Now, they can halfway make excuses when they run the plates and find out that someone has a warrant, that someone's been involved in illicit or illegal activities. But in this particular case, none of that happened. So there was no be on high alert. This brother represented what we have strived for, especially in our community, for young Black men to be responsible and accountable. And he was all of that and more. Amen. He was executed by his family. Yes. This doesn't happen to anybody else. As a veteran, I know that there's been young men and women fighting and dying overseas that have been held accountable for mistreating combatants. And if this would have happened in Fallujah or somewhere else, where a young Marine or soldier walked up to a car with the family and killed the father, he would have been held accountable. The time is now for the leadership of this city and of this state, as Nakima mentioned, to change the policies and the practices of the police department.
That's right.
We cannot and will not go another minute, another day, another month with excuses and all the change in language and so forth. We need a complete change and transformation in policies and practice. And that needs to start with the St. Anthony Police Department.
That's right.
Here you had a brother, an innocent individual that was shot multiple times, and no one rendered first aid. No one rendered first aid. You had a sister and a 4-year-old baby. For all practical reasons, they were placed under arrest, separated, and no one called a chaplain to come and comfort them. But after the shooting, other officers went and comfort the assailant. There's something wrong there, and that's unacceptable. And so we demand immediate action from the governor and others to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because this time, it's going to be a long, long, hot summer. And you know, I'm sick and tired of Minnesota being ranked at the top for all these quality of life issues that affect white folks and the appearance of the promised land, but it hasn't been the promised land for us. So I would urge the governor, and we appreciate him coming out.
Come on out the closet.
We appreciate him coming out. But we need some swift, strong action to deal with this and to send a message that this will not happen again.
That's right.
And finally, I want to thank the leadership of these young folks. I'm a tired old mad black man.
That's right. And you've been in the community a long time.
But I want to thank these young folks. Brother Danny, Reverend Heron, especially this sister here. Especially this sister here. Especially this sister here. Because she's a sister of faith, and she raises up all of us up to a certain level where we're standing on moral ground. Many of the old folks like myself, we've been situational leaders in the black community. Sometimes we're mad, sometimes we're happy. The boss calls us to the table, we sit, we've resolved something. We haven't resolved a damn thing. We haven't resolved anything. And that's why I love the courage of these young folks, because they ain't taking it anymore. And even though many of us are old, we're going to be right out there with them, as long as God gives us the strength and the breath. And many of you that talk about faith, you don't have any faith. You don't have any faith if you don't have any courage to stand up to this madness.
That's right.
God is challenging you.
Yes, he is.
And so come on out and stand with these young folks. Peace.
I'm here. Next, we're going to hear from Pastor Brian Heron of Zion Missionary Baptist Church.
First of all, to the media, some of you are supposed to be investigative reporters. So why don't you investigate and report? Seems like you dig into the background of the folks who are victims, but you never dig into the backgrounds of the perpetrators. This is a very difficult moment. It comes on the heels of us trying to heal from Jamar Clark. It comes on the heels of what happened in New Orleans. It comes on the heels of all the trauma and madness that we have suffered for so long. And I'm not speaking as a victim. I'll never speak as a victim. But at the same time, when do we call the police into account?
That's right.
We stand here in front of the governor's mansion because it is the highest held office within our state.
That's right.
And we're calling on Governor Dayton
Listen.
to use the office of governor to create change in the culture of policing. It doesn't matter if the policies or the laws change if the culture doesn't change. Because they'll just find a way to get around all that. We have to have different kinds of training. We have to have different kinds of requirements. There has to be a mandate about police-community relationships. There has to be a mandate. This whole thing has got to change. It can't continue like it's been. My heart goes out to the family, and our prayers are with you. What we need is for everyone to work together for this, because this is about humanity. That brother was a human being, and it bothers me. It really bothers me that we have to talk about how he was a good man and how he didn't have a criminal record. I don't give a damn. He didn't deserve to die. For a traffic stop? He didn't deserve to die. We're not animals. Why in 2016 we're still talking about I'm a man?
Listen.
Just like back in the 50s, 40s, 60s. Why do we have to keep saying we're human? It's time for us as a people to collectively come together and begin to work on these issues unafraid, not fearing anything or anybody, and working until justice comes. Governor, we're looking to you. We're looking to you to effect change in this situation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Governor Mark Dayton, who has some remarks that he wants to share. Come on up, Governor.
I invite the members of my administration, Lieutenant Governor Smith and others, to join me up here.
Hold on 1 second, Governor. We have another microphone. People want to hear it.
Watch your hand. Watch your hand. My deepest condolences go out to the family and many friends.
Turn his mic on.
They working from that end. There's no Madison.
My deepest condolences go out to the family and friends, and on behalf of all decent-minded Minnesotans, which are almost all of us in this state, we're shocked and horrified by what occurred last night. The horrible, horrible tragedy, a senseless tragedy, and one that I commit as Chief Executive of the state of Minnesota, I will see is investigated by both the state and local authorities who have a statutory responsibility, the County Attorney, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, and also I have reached out, spoken with the President Obama's Chief of Staff, Dennis McDonough, spoke with him this morning. He knew of the situation. He was shocked and concerned as well. I asked him to bring me in contact with the U.S. Attorney General. I've reached out there, not heard back a response, as well as the head of the Civil Rights Division of the U.S. Department of Justice. And I'm going to urge them to come in here as soon as possible for either whatever they determine is appropriate, whether criminal, civil rights investigations, or both. And I agree that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. It's not the norm in Minnesota. It can't be.
You have the power. We are the people.
Let him speak. Let him speak. Let him speak. Let him speak. Let him finish.
I promise that I will do everything, and my administration will do everything in our power to see that this matter is brought to justice and appropriate, and that all avenues are pursued to do a complete investigation and to make, as you said before, Reverend Herron, that justice is served. Justice will be served in Minnesota. Justice will be served in Minnesota.
Where's Minnesota nice? You gotta be stronger than that.
What's your plan?
As I mentioned earlier, we are going to take questions after we've heard from all of the speakers. We're going to ask the governor to stick around and to be a part of the group that answers questions. Thank you for addressing this audience. We're going to call up Pastor Danny Gibbons of Above Every Name Ministries.
Stay.
Stay.
I talked to
This hit close to home because I was just with Philando last week. I was hanging out and he was talking about the work that I do with Black Lives Matter and was just saying how proud to see somebody from our community out here standing for justice and standing for righteousness. I can't sit here and say that I appreciate anything that Governor Dayton said because this is the third time I've been to your house and people being murdered, Karen. It's the third time I've been to this mansion regarding my people being murdered. I've been to your house, never been invited here as a guest to meet you as a community activist and leader. I've been to your house because your people keep killing my people. Your staff keep killing my staff. You keep telling us you're going to do something. I sat at the table with you. I just want you to put some action on it. Put some respect on our people's names. That's all I want. I just want it to be real. This isn't black anger. This is black grief. This is black pain. This is black hurt. These aren't black people out here mad protesting. These are black people out here mad because we're tired of our children being murdered in the streets. Not now, not ever. To all my St. Paul family out here, I promise you, I'm going to do everything in my power. All of our leaders for the St. Paul Ministerial Alliance, St. Paul NAACP, all this differences ain't about nothing. We out here for our people, and we believe that justice is for our people, and we gonna get it. Ain't about no egos, it ain't about none of that. I'm gonna say this to you as media. What if it was your son? Could I be in your face, fam, if I just murdered your son? Evan? Could I get in your face with a camera and a pen and some paper and tell me how you spell your last name, Evan? After they murdered? No, I'm asking you a question. Could I do that? No. Respect the boundaries of my people. Respect the boundaries of the Castile family during this time. Quit trying to commodify them. Quit trying to objectify them by trying to get a story. Don't put your cameras in the face of the police officers. Don't say that to the police department. And put your cameras in the chief's face. Go out there and ask them what was on their mind. Read their resume. Read their background. Read their qualifications. Ask them this. This is what I want you to ask the police. This is what I want you to ask the police. Did you go through the police academy training? Did you pass successfully? Did you submit a resume with all of your character flaws and defaults and everything and all of your strengths, talents, and abilities, and did they hire you? Did you sign up and apply for this job? If you did, I don't want to hear nothing about no fear, being cowards, punks, scared, because you signed up for this. Their character is never in question. I was talking to the family last night at the hospital, and I was telling Miss Valerie, I said, listen, y'all don't have to keep justifying his character.
That's right.
That's right.
But I'm going to say this.
That's right.
Because it's real. He is a good man. Has always been a good man. And even if there was anything questionable, even if there was anything that was outside of the norm, we have a judicial process that should afford every human being, every Minnesota resident, an opportunity to stand before a judge and or a jury to be tried in the court of law for whatever crimes or infractions were broken.
That's right.
But we don't get that process. When I went to prison for shooting an off-duty police officer 20 years ago, I got a chance to get convicted
That's right.
and laid down for a long time. But I haven't seen not one cop, with the exception of the Asian cop, that y'all slandered and put that on wherever it was, and just to slander his name. But I haven't seen not one white cop be brought to justice for shooting my people. To my faith leaders out here, and to my praying people out here, I'm done praying. I'm done praying. I'm done praying. I won't get on my knees now one more time about this. I'm about that action. I'm about that life. Faith without works is dead. It's time we working. We out here. I need the entire community out here doing this. We need everybody. My final thought I want to say as we close. It's my final thought. Touch somebody next to you. We're going to call upon our ancestors. The ones who have lived, bled, and died for us. We're going to call upon our ancestors, the ones that have names that we heard of and the ones that died nameless. We're calling upon our ancestors not only to be present, but to give us the courage, power, strength, and wisdom that our people had when we survived the transatlantic passage. We need that kind of power, strength, and courage from our ancestors. We need that power, strength, and courage from the motherland. We need healing, energy, and power sent to our people. We're calling upon our ancestors to do this work. We need everybody at the table. We need Buddha, Allah, Jesus. We need everybody at the table for this one. This ain't no part where there's division or schism or ism. We need everybody at the table. We just got through celebrating Ramadan, and then we're dealing with this. We're going to hold this thing. Brother Clarence,
Right here. Right here.
you got my word. If it kills me,
I'm putting the boots on, Danny.
I got mine on. I got my fatigue and my chucks on. I'm ready to roll.
We about to go to war.
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
All right. We want justice. We want justice. We're tired. We're tired. We're tired. It shouldn't take 6 months for a sham investigation for us to get justice. I'm sorry. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. We're tired. We're tired of it. We're tired of it. With that, I'm going to call up Clarence Castile, who is, I'm going to have you talk briefly first, and then I'm going to have Diamond talk. We're going to have Clarence Castile, who is the uncle of the victim, address the crowd, and then we're going to hear from Ms. Diamond Reynolds, who was the passenger in the car who taped everything. All right, so let's give a warm welcome to Clarence Castile.
Most of y'all heard me speaking earlier. I can't say too much more, but I would like to address that police officer just one moment here. God is watching you, brother. My friend, God saw what you did, and you will be judged.
Yes, he will.
Either here on earth, but on your way to hell.
That's right.
But you're going to pay. You're going to pay, brother, you're going to pay. Ain't too much I can say. But we need justice for Philando, y'all. Justice for Philando. That's why he didn't deserve it. That's right. The cop wasn't right. Diamond gonna tell y'all something.
That's right.
Diamond gonna tell y'all something that don't nobody know. Y'all can find out the real deal right now.
Right now.
About what happened, because she was there. They went and locked that girl up for overnight. Probably trying to use those scare tactics and fear tactics so she wouldn't say what she about to say. But it ain't happening this time. All that trickery and all that right there, it ain't happening today. It ain't happening, my friend. But you, wherever you at, your time is coming, man.
Yes, sir.
Your time is coming, man. So just get ready. You need to fess up. Tell the truth. Tell the truth, man. Tell the truth. And the truth will set you free. That's all I got to say about that.
Thank you. We just want to give our condolences to the Castile family. Even us demanding justice is not going to bring Philando back. But the prayer is that this will not happen to anyone else in the state of Minnesota by our collective efforts in rising up and demanding justice.
Amen.
But please keep this family in your prayers. We were with them last night at HCMC. We got a chance to meet his mother and other relatives, and they're just broken up. They said he was the last person that they ever expected would be shot and killed by police because of the life that he led. And it's unacceptable and it's intolerable that it happened here. So with that, we're going to call up Diamond Reynolds, who was in the car at the time of this egregious incident. And she had the courage to upload what was happening in real time. That is incredible. Her level of calmness, y'all. Who could have been that calm in the midst of a situation like that? That was a miracle.
Miracle.
And had she not uploaded that information before they snatched her phone away, then we would be dealing with lies, and more lies about what happened. But let's give this woman a really warm, encouraging welcome so that she knows we have her back in the community. Hi, everybody. I just want to thank y'all for being here today. I appreciate all of you guys' support. I'm very, very devastated behind this. Yesterday, he had came home from work. He picked me up after leaving his mom's house. We got pulled over allegedly for what the officer said was a broken headlight on the passenger side. As the officer pulled us all over to the side of the road, there was two officers. There was an Asian male, which was on Philando's side of the driver's side, and there was a Caucasian white man on my side. The officer asked for license and registration. As my boyfriend Philando went to reach for his identification, which he always kept in his right backside pocket, he began to let the officer know that he was concealed and carried. He was armed. As he began to get himself back comfortable from constantly being asked for identification and registration, the officer let off shots. Not one shot, not two shots, not three shots, not four shots, but 5 shots.
Listen.
For no reason. How can one man put his hands in the air and reach for identification at the same time as he is telling you that he is armed? He was having difficulty. It was in the holster in his pants when they removed him from the car, as was his wallet in his back pocket. They did not check for pulse on the scene of the crime. They did not make sure that he was breathing. They instantly rushed their colleague off to the side where they comforted him, where he began
He asked, let me tell you guys again, we were pulled over for alleged broken headlight. He asked us, did we know? And we stated that we did not know. We were unaware. At the time, he asked for license and registration. As Philando began to have difficulties reaching for his identification because of his concealed firearm on his person, he told the man very calmly and very respectfully that he was carrying. He began to yell, "Don't move! Don't move!" as he was already moving to get his identification.
Murderer.
This is unacceptable that he would come to the car. He seemed very frantic. He seemed very nervous. But he still had no right to bear arms on an innocent man in front of his girlfriend and her child. They make so many excuses. They took me off the scene. They took my phone. They didn't feed us. They manipulated me to go to the store, agreed to feed us and give us water, and they didn't. They handcuffed us. They put us, me and my daughter, in a room until the BCA came and questioned me, where they separated myself and my daughter.
Oh my God.
I did not leave. They took over my Facebook page after the video was posted. I was gone because I was in the Roseville precinct. When I got there, there were not one officer in sight. The precinct was closed. No one came to ask me questions. I waited and I waited and I asked many questions. I asked, was he dead? They told me he was at Regents. When I tried to get to Regents, he was never at Regents. He was at because he was transported to HCMC. And had possibly he was at Regents, he could have survived.
Wow.
That's right. If they would have helped him, he would have survived.
But the officer at hand wrongfully fired his weapon when he asked for license and registration. If it's okay for a community to be concealed with license, why is it okay for an officer to bear arms for no reason? When stating out of his mouth, I have a firearm. He volunteered that information. The officer didn't know. He didn't know that he had a firearm until he had difficulties reaching in his right pocket to get his wallet.
How were you treated?
I was treated like a criminal. I was treated like I was the one who did this. They were very, very racist towards me. They treated me like this was my fault. They tried to switch up my words in investigation. They tried to say they needed more investigation. But what more proof do you need? What more proof do you need? Your officer bear arms on an innocent man for asking for license and registration.
How did the officer respond after the shooting?
He was crying. He was frantic and very, very nervous.
We heard it.
We seen it.
As you guys seen on the video, I was not able to get the actual shooting because I did not want that horrible act to be on social media because they already tried to remove it. I just wanted the truth. I wanted everyone across America and everyone in the state where we reside to know that our people, police, who are supposed to serve and protect us, are the ones that are killing us off.
Right. It's a setup.
I feel like I need justice. The officer at hand that did this should not be getting any type of pay.
Leave,
No pay. He definitely should be behind bars.
Yes.
Because the man was not only took from his family who loved him,
We watched it.
he was took from the community. Many of you guys as kids probably go to the school in which he worked at.
Yes.
Many of you guys as kids knew this man. He was loving. He was caring. He stayed home. He went to work and he took care of his business.
Yes.
So for a police officer to come about and take this man away is unreal.
needs to be charged as murder.
Exactly.
What would you say to that police
Get
officer?
charged and then they go
I
through
don't
the
have
system.
anything to say to the police
Let's give
officer.
Diamond Reynolds another round of applause for her courage. She has her little angel here. Earlier today, she came and said, how did you remain so calm? She said it was because of her daughter. Her daughter helped her remain calm and told her, I'm here with you, Mom. So let's give this little baby a
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you're praying for this baby, because she witnessed a very traumatic incident. She's going to need our prayers and our love and our support.
How long it took to get medical attention, and also if it's police who initially deleted that video?
Did they destroy your phone?
They took my phone away. One of the officers stated that she was going to put my phone on a charger so that I can have my phone throughout the whole thing. And once they transported me from 3 different cars. I constantly kept begging for my property. Where once I got to the precinct, they told me that I would not be able to retrieve my phone because they needed. I began to tell them that live videos was not my SD card because it was an iPhone, and they still took over my Facebook and tried to take the video down so that they could manipulate and tamper with evidence.
Why did that share?
Manipulation. Too late.
It took at least 15 minutes for the paramedics to come, and even still, before they never checked his pulse, he was still breathing, or if he wasn't. As they rushed him away, and he was already dead on the scene.
You all witnessed his last breath. Yes, we did.
That, what we're going to do is have one more speaker come up, allow Governor Day to answer questions from Washington. And then we have some other speakers that will address the crowd and the media. So next, I'm going to call up Rashad Turner of Black Lives Matter St. Paul.
Black Lives Matter. All lives matter.
It's on! It's on!
I want to thank Danny Gibbons for keeping it real. He kept it so real. I don't have too much more to say other than this is the same governor who's been in office for years. The same governor who's called us terrorists. So I don't believe nothing he has to say. I might have just lost a few votes, but I don't give a damn. Listening to you as a white supremacist tell us our lives don't matter. Right? These are your officers under your payroll. Do something about it. It's peaceful right now, but I promise you, it will not just be peace and chance. We're going to get... I'm tired of it. I woke up to whose daughter said, that man was good to us in school.
He was.
Get your ass out here and help. Knock down these doors of white supremacy. And let's do this for our community and for this family.
Thank you, brother. Thanks, Rashad.
We're going to call up Governor Day before he has to head out to answer some questions from the media. Come on up, Governor.
President calling, man.
What are you going to talk about?
I don't think I want to interrupt what's going on here again by deepest apologies, and you and your daughter were extraordinary last night. I can't tell you how sorry I am. The terrible tragedy was forced on you and on your family.
Sorry, I want y'all to be more careful.
We want justice. We want justice.
You will get justice. You will get justice.
Justice. Swift and fast. Right now.
The governor has decided that he's not going to take questions. I'm not sure if he will be available, but we are going to continue with this. Can we continue with the press conference? Yeah. So next we have Reverend Charles Gill from Pilgrim Baptist Church. St. Paul.
Good morning.
Before his birthday. They took that man before his birthday.
To the family,
9 days
I saw
before
the
his
video.
birthday.
There is no reason as to why what happened should have happened. There's no reason for that. I'm standing here before you as a pastor in this community, Pilgrim Baptist Church, and also the president of the St. Paul Black Ministerial Alliance. Everything that has been said, all I can say is amen to that. There have been divisions, but on this matter, there cannot be. As a nation, we have come together and we celebrated this great day called Independence Day. My question is, for whom? For whom? Within the same week, not even 7 days later, we have 2 African American men killed. This does not make sense whatsoever. And so we have to ask the question, what in the world is going on? There is one continuous phrase that is uttered every time. And the phrase is, they have not acted outside of, or they were acting in accordance to their training that had been given to them. Clearly, something is wrong with the policy. They need to be changed. To the family, you have our prayers, but you also have our personal and our physical support with you. With that, may the God that we serve be by our side. Indeed, based upon not one's philosophy or political views, but based upon the behavior, it seems like they're begging for a war. I'm not calling for one, but what I'm saying is, based upon the behavior, if it does not change, that's where we're headed. I don't want to see that. Because in a war, someone always gets caught in the middle. There's always casualties. I don't want to see that. It doesn't make sense. Because it will hit your family as if it has not hit many of our families already. This has to stop. It has to stop, and stop now.
Now we'll hear from Tyrone Terrell of the African American Leadership Council.
And I'll be real. It's been said. I think the most important thing, we stand to be united.
That's right.
That nothing you will print or write will divide us.
Amen.
But one thing for the media needs to understand, you don't value our humanity. Therefore, every story you write about us is inhuman. Dehumanize us with the police department. And so until you understand as white media, you do this all the time. You come here with your cameras, and you run 30 seconds tonight of one of us.
Nixon started it.
But you won't tell the story about this inhumane man who shoots a man 4 and 5 times over a headlight. I was out there last night. And think about this Castile family, I go way back with them, with Trayvon, Tracy, and my son grew up with this family. Who are you people? You execute a man. Let's make it a white man, his girl driving, and a white baby, 4 years old, in the car.
Never happened.
Make it white. Shut your eyes and make it white. And it wouldn't have happened. So enough talking. But Reverend Gill said something. Y'all asking us. Y'all for 400 some years keep pushing us. You can't keep pushing the people. You cannot keep pushing us.
Next, we're going to hear from Diane Benz and Zahir Khalif of the St. Paul NAACP.
Standing in unity
as an organization and as activists in our community. I've been on this battle since 1990 as an activist in the community, fighting for rights for us. And all my time here in St. Paul, been here 48 years, I have never seen anything as egregious as this killing was last night. And we have dealt with a lot of things because we brought about change in this community. But that does not speak for this entire state, because we live all over the state. And we have a lot of folks out there, a lot of cops, who took these jobs and said that they were, and when they encounter us as professionals on their job, they treat us like we're animals. We have to teach, I have to teach my grandchildren, and I have 4 folks in my family that has permits to carry. And they wear these guns all the time. And I tell them, I say, look, you shouldn't do that because the police will kill you. You know what they tell me? Grandma, this is 2016. Well, I told my son, my grandson, when he woke up this morning, I said, in 2016, a man that was carrying a gun and acted like I teach you how to act was murdered last night. So put your 9mm away. I said, don't carry it in your car. Don't do anything. Because you know what? And he looked at me and said, I have a right. That's right. And he has a right. But still, I fear for his life. I fear for his life. And this can't continue. We can't continue to have it. So we're going to stand in unity, in solidarity, and whatever it takes, we're going to get it done until we get justice. And we want justice right now. Not tomorrow, not next year, but we want it right now. Because we ain't had no justice since we got to America. But we want it right here in St. Paul, right now in Minnesota. We don't want to keep putting on the map. We get on the map because of the bad things we do. Our educational system is one of the worst in the country. Now police have put us up in the House of Representatives. We'll talk about this morning. We're on the map again. So good citizens of Minnesota, if y'all want to believe in Minnesota nice, and stand with us as a people. We are all people, regardless of what color we are. We are all human beings, and we should be all treated like human beings. And we have to go back to what they did in the 60s. It was many folks in the 60s who were white, who fought so my parents could vote, and who died. You have to be willing to do that same thing.
That's right.
Thank you, Diane. I am from Minneapolis. I'm representing St. Paul NAACP. I became part of NAACP several years ago. I'm the first elected East African person who joined NAACP in the state of Minnesota. The reason I became part of the NAACP because we're a new immigrant from Africa in America. America is injustice while you're black, while you're driving and you are black, and now you are Muslim while you're walking around the neighborhood is a crime. And I think this is unacceptable. This is supposed to be America. And it hurts me when I'm advocating every day in our community to find out, as a mother, our youth are being recruited every day. Who is recruiting our youth? But when I watched this video last night, he is a black man who's driving. He was asked to pull his license out. And in return, he gets 5 shots. What is wrong with America? What is wrong in justice and democracy in this country? Are we a safe place being a black? Are we a safe place in America being a Muslim? Are we a safe place in being a safe place of being a Muslim in America? This is unacceptable. I'm here today voicing for the families and giving my condolences. And I am hurting for you. This is not new in America. America needs to step up and needs to be charged people who did this crime. That's right. People have to unite against the crimes. The injustice in America is unacceptable. All lives matter. Black lives matter. Today we are here together because you know what? We see every black man is shot. Every Muslim is being looked at it. I'm meeting with the U.S. Attorney Office today in the Somali community. You know what? This shootings are happening in our community because families are coming out the mosque praying because it's Ramadan and they got shot because, you know, they were terrorists.
Listen.
I'm shaken and I'm hurting. I'm here today in support of the families. Black Lives Matter. All lives matter. And I'm here on behalf of NAACP, and it's unacceptable. We need justice. We need our governor to respond. Step up and find this, I won't call names, but these officers to be found guilty and remove them out of service. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Terry Nelson of the ACLU of Minnesota.
Good morning. I'm Teresa Nelson, Legal Director for the ACLU of Minnesota. Go out to Philando's family for this unspeakable tragedy, unspeakable horrific act. You know, what we know so far is that this police stop was for a minor traffic, not even, a minor equipment violation. And as Mr. Terrell mentioned earlier, you changed the occupants of that vehicle. There was a 4-year-old child in the car. Change the occupants of that vehicle to a white family, and this would not have happened. That vehicle to a white family, and the odds are that vehicle wouldn't have even been stopped for such a minor violation. Better in Minnesota. This is beyond a crisis. And as well, acknowledge, own, and dismantle our white privilege. Make sure that this does not happen again. This is the second police killing of a black man in 36 hours in this country.
Listen.
Philando did not have to die, and Alton did not have to die. We need to do better. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to call up Jaylani Hussein, who is the Executive Director of CARE.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. We are tired of coming together after tragedy and tragedy and tragedy. When will the police, and I'm not talking about those individuals within the police who continue to do this, I'm talking about the other police officers. When are they going to step up forward? When are they going to speak up against this type of brutality amongst them? If you are a police officer, I don't care what your color is, if you are a police officer and you're afraid of my safety, for the love of God, find another job. Because you have, by the state of this law, by the laws of the state, by the laws of the state, you are an armed man. And you are also protected by a court that has not found justice for Jamar. You are protected by that sports system. We're tired, folks. We're tired, and many of us are afraid. When that lights turn on behind you, no matter if it's a tail light fix or just because you waved the wrong side and you didn't signal, we're afraid. We're afraid because maybe our wallets will look like a gun. Maybe our fist may look like a gun. And we will be fired upon. Tragedy. And it's a tragedy. But I'm speaking today to those who can make the biggest difference. The men in the blue. The men and the women in the blue. It is your responsibility to also hold your peers accountable. It is your responsibility. We need them to stand right here and say, this is unacceptable. Unacceptable. One life is too many. One life is too many. And we have to keep a safety protocol for all of us. If you see a police officer, get in that position. I'm sorry. Get in that position under the floor so they have no excuse.
All right. speaker. Did I miss anyone? All right, so we're going to hear from Jamal, who is a Somali activist. Come on up.
Thank you very much, and I am fed up repeating the same thing, saying enough is enough. Actually, enough is more than enough. Yes. And nothing reminds me of these circumstances where it's been said, power concedes nothing without demands. It never did, and it never will. It's up to us now. The joke is on us. Let us take our responsibility and do something about this change without us doing something. Let us not be delusional here. Let us be at least for a moment. I have been in this state for, this is what, the 15th or the 20th innocent life, African American, black. I was in Chicago and Franklin, where a Somali kid was shot 16 times. 16 times. Spot. What happened? Nothing. 3 months later, a year later, same thing. Everybody is saying enough is enough. You know what?
Listen.
Let's be real. Change unless we do something. The system will try to justify their action. They will maneuver around. Oh, they are emotional. Give them a time. They will get over with this. They will come up, just give them a week. They will get tired and they will start actually killing each other. No, it's up to us, not up to them. I'm not expecting anything from them. I'm expecting something from you. When can someone tell me in the history of this country, the civil rights movement, the flag movement, when have they ever been given something voluntarily? Never. Never. And if you continue thinking like that, it's not going to happen. Many lives have been lost. People died. Basic rights. And now you're expecting this? A young man, I was there last night, was killed in front of his daughter. Shot and killed. Cold-blooded. Another one was killed in Louisiana. Shot in the head. Cold-blooded. Is someone telling me everything is normal? Something must change. And that thing, that change, is not up to those in the system. It's up to the average citizen like us to take things in our own hands and demand things. Like Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing. It will never be, and will never will. Thank you.
I just received from Representative Moran to briefly address the crowd.
I come here definitely because my heart hurts. My name again is Ray Moran. I represent District 65A on the other side of the highway there from Laurel. And I come because I remember last night I had just gotten home and my son passed me this video. He says his live stream is happening right now. And I was sitting down at dinner and I looked at it and my heart fell. And I said to him, I can't watch this. I cannot watch this black man die in front of my eyes. This is not okay. This is not okay. When I saw him, I saw my 4 sons. I saw my 4 sons, right? That at any time, the police, this could be them. We have no equipment. And neither do our kids, neither do our grandkids. And this has to change. Enough is enough. It's enough. And what we got to do from this point forward, you know, this is about a people's movement. This is about a people's movement, right? And so for my part, as a state legislator, my part is to create the laws that will align with what we're fighting for out in the country. And I need you to. I cannot do this as the only black legislator in the House of Representatives. I cannot do this by myself. It's going to take all of us to move this. All of us. Right? And it is about our responsibility to stand up, stand strong, but it's also about us aligning the policies and the laws that is about what we need to create justice for all of us. Every last one of us. All of us. So as we talk about what we need to do to move forward, let's not fight among ourselves. There's a bigger enemy that we have to address and face. That doesn't look like us. That does not look like us. So I'm asking you today that as we work in the legislature to create a comprehensive package, I need your voices. I need your presence at the Capitol. I need your voices. I need your presence in this community. They go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. Role to play, right? And all our roles may not be the same, but we all have a role to play. And so I'm standing here because my heart and condolences goes out to the family. It goes out to the family. It goes out to that baby that was in the back seat of that vehicle. I cannot imagine the trauma that this young lady is going to endure from now for months to come. And we have to address that too. We have to address it. It is no way possible that I can see that police officer not being aware of his environment and seeing that baby in that place. She could have been shot. She could have been shot. That is not okay. That is not okay. As a mother, it is not okay. As a person, it is not okay. Let's do better. Thank you.
Moran for coming and addressing us as the only elected official, aside from Governor Dayton, who addressed. But just like we gave some grief to Governor Dayton, we have to hold all of our elected officials accountable. This is not the first officer-involved shooting that has happened in the state of Minnesota. Not even in the last year. And I don't know about other people here, but I know I've been to knocking on doors, sitting in legislative hearings. Even as an attorney and a law professor and the president of the ACP, guess what? I have faced disrespect from our white legislators who don't want to hear what we have to say. And it's completely unacceptable. Sometimes they treat us like we can only deal with our previous legislators. That's completely unacceptable. I refuse to go through a black door at the state capitol. I refuse. And I want to put elected officials on notice, whether you're here or you're not. They're knocking on our doors, asking us to canvass for you, asking for our campaign donations. Then when we have issues like this, you do nothing with the power that you have. It's time to step aside if that. I said it's time to step aside. She talked about some of our enemies being bigger than this. I would say that two of our enemies are complacency and silence in the midst of oppression. Part of our complacency is continuing to elect people again and again and again who are doing nothing to uplift the people. Enough is enough. Some of you out here who care about justice for people who have been killed, who care about the marginalized, who care about people's voices who are not being heard, need to step up and cannot be the Jim Crow North. That's exactly what we are. As Nathaniel Khalid said, we hide behind all these #1 rankings. Our income, our education, quality of life, I would argue the #1 racist park system in the country for the city of Minneapolis. We are tired of it. There is a culture here that puts their foot on the necks of the backs of people of color. They put their foot on our necks and our backs to hold us down. And then they use institutional racism. They use policy to continue to perpetuate oppression. Well, enough is enough. We don't have to see the sign saying blacks only and whites only to know that that is the kind of system we have here. And while we're at it, we need to call on our business leaders to step up to the plate. Because so often, the police are infiltrating downtown, infiltrating our communities to protect white business interests. Huh? And white property. Even if people of color live there, we are seen as the criminals and we're tired of it. We need the business community to step up to the plate and push for fair criminal justice laws. Stop hiring killer cops to work off duty in front of your businesses. That's what's happening here. They're getting paid. Look at Bob Crow, the head of the Minneapolis Police Union, the one who some call KKK Crow, who is allegedly part of a white supremacist gang. I say allegedly because he denies it. Although the motorcycle gang that he's a part of is known for having other symbolism related to acceptable. You look at his record of brutality against people of color, again, unacceptable. The fact that our rank and file officers elected him to represent them is unacceptable. But what's even more unacceptable is that Wells Fargo would hire him as an off-duty police officer. What? 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 It's time to act. Exactly. He said in the St. Paul Pioneer Press that back in the day when people got out of line, they would hit him in the head with a flashlight. He said if they had done that, Jamar Clark might still be alive. That's completely unacceptable. Wells Fargo and other companies need to exercise corporate responsibility and stop paying killer cops. Stop paying them. Stop paying them. Many of us bank with Wells Fargo. We do business at these other institutions. We need to start holding them accountable. There are some good business leaders, but they won't do what they need to do unless we apply pressure to their system, unless we get them to change their practices. So let us focus on the power that we do have to change the system, because we know we can't fully rely on our government leaders to do it. We have to do it. This is a people's movement. Somebody say this is a people's movement. This is a people's movement. With that, I want to call up one of our young people, Ayan Natala, who's been part of the St. Paul youth branch of the NAACP, and she's also a student at Augsburg College. Let's give her a warm welcome. You gotta hear.
All right, my name is Ayan Natala. I go to McAllister College. Currently has almost barely any local people of color. And the thing that pissed me off about that is right down the street. Island over there, you have Central over there, you have a huge Hmong population, a huge African refugee, immigrant population, but they can get people from Nigeria, they can get people from Ghana, or the Philippines, or Bangladesh, but we are not there. There are multiple ways that we are getting killed off in Minnesota. We are targets till proven human. We are not human on Summit Avenue. Register that. We were here last night, and there were police there. There are people peeping through the windows, but still we are here and no one came out to talk to us. There was no state representative to come out and talk to us. Again, we are not humans. They don't even see our humanity. And that's people on this street. That's people on this street. And as a young activist, as a black millennial, how do I keep staying at McAllister studying poli-sci? When this little girl's in the car, and she what do we want to get from this? And we say justice. And then you say, well, what does that mean, right? We don't know what it means because we never had it. Listen. So be patient with us. Be patient with us. We're on the street, and I'm 20, educated about what to do for my people, and I need to figure it out and know the answer. And you got reporters here that do not care that I'm on the verge of tears outside last night by myself, freaking out with black millennials. We are by ourselves. So I want to say I love you, and I see you, and we're going to figure it out. And I don't know the answer, and that's okay that we don't know the answer, because these reporters are not going to tell us the answer. My school's not going to tell us the answer. We're the ones that got to figure it out. So love on yourself. Love the black millennials around you. When you lose hope like we did last night, what we did is I held Aja. I held Vanessa. And they know who they are, and the community knows who they are, even though white people and other people don't know who that is, because we're the ones in the front who are 20, already got criminal records, because again, it's trial and error. We got to figure it out because they're not going to teach us. That's right. Right? We were already at the 4th precinct, didn't know what to do, but we figured it out through trial and error while y'all leave. Yeah. While y'all leave us at school by ourselves. Don't care about us because that's the United States of America. Listen. So please take care of yourself. I just want to get up here and say I love you, black millennials. I love you. And what I do when I lose hope is I come to places like this and I go to black children and I say I'm going to figure it out in McAllister for you. Right? Just like the elders that are behind me did that for me. Right? That's what gives me hope today. Because we were out here at the Black Fair when people were making fun of us, when people were giving us death threats, when people said that we did not matter. People on this street did not care. They ridiculed us. They ridiculed us for going to the state. We are scared and we don't know what to do. We're going to figure it out. And what did they do when we got there? Right? A year later, right next to the state fair, you had another incident. We predicted the fucking future. Listen. Right? Because it happened all the time. All the time from the beginning. So I don't know what justice means right now, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. And I'm giving you a sneak peek. You know, we're going to be at the state fair again because it's going to happen to work together, to love ourselves, to do individual and collective self-healing so we as a community can love on each other, heal one another so we can figure it out. And please remember this, when you are on Facebook, when you leave this place, because we're the ones who are putting our bodies on the line to figure it out while you leave. While you leave. And that's what people are going to do even today, like we always do. So please, remember my face. Remember the black children. Remember the black elders and the black ancestors, because we've always been trying to figure it out, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And can we please end with the chant that we always end with? It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Thank you. There was a young woman who came up to me in the back and who asked to speak. And at the time, we continue to allow speakers, but if she's still here and you came to the microphone, you asked to speak, come back up right now, and you'll still be allowed to speak. But we're going to have Makai Lewis, and then if she doesn't come back up, we're going to take a few questions, and then we're going to wrap up. Okay, she's coming.
Giving you a warning that those days are ended for us because we're tired. I know I am tired. And this is not a threat. It's not a threat to nobody. I love white people. I don't have a problem with whites or anything. Us as blacks, we don't have it. It's not a white and black issue. But it is an issue that is harming us blacks, and we are
We don't seem to understand how to change this. We keep trying to have marches. We keep trying to be peaceful. We try to do everything that y'all tell us we need to do to change the outcome of what's happening to us. And we keep doing it, and nothing is changing. So we need to go through some different measures. Wouldn't we all? Yes. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Peace be on to all of us, but we must change.
So the young woman came back up, Shalonda Elise. She's going to be our last speaker. And I have a brief announcement, and we'll take questions.
Come on up. Thank you. I just want to say I agree with the brother that just spoke before me 100%. And for me personally, in my own little opinion, I think two things need to happen in this entire country, not just Minnesota, but all over. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. It happens everywhere in the United States. What needs to happen, in my opinion, is, one, us as black people, like the brother said, we got to stop marching. This haven't worked. It doesn't mean we didn't try. We've tried for a long time. We all love Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but we also love Malcolm X and the Black Panther Party. And we fought against it for how many decades, how many centuries before them. It hasn't worked for us, and it will not. The second thing, in my opinion, that needs to happen for all of the white people that say all white people are racist, those white people who are not racist, I think y'all need to stand up for us, not with us, but for us. A crowd of white people, a sea of white people saying this shit gotta stop. Because it ain't white race, black race, y'all killing out the human race. And soon one of those races will start to diminish. And that cannot happen. It will not happen. Because if it's just me and this brother right here, we going. We going. And it ain't no threat. It's a promise.
So we just got word that the parents of J.J. Hill School, where Philando Castile worked, are very upset about what happened. He was a beloved member of the community and the staff. So at 5 o'clock today, they are hosting a march and a rally at 998 Selby Avenue in St. Paul, 55104. Again, that's 998 Selby Avenue in St. Paul, 55104. That's J.J. Hill School. If you're able to make it there, please do. Show up in solidarity with the parents and probably most importantly the children whose lives that Philando Castile touched and who they will not see alive again because of the broken system that we have to deal with. So with that, it's again at 5 o'clock today. So with that, we'll take some questions if there are any from the media.
Nikita, Governor Dayton said that every child who went to J.J. Hill Montessori. Governor Dayton had said that he had contacted the White House representative from McDonough, and he was asking for the Attorney General and the Justice Department to look into this for a criminal or civil rights investigation. What's your reaction?
This is Nikema Levy-Towns talking, not necessarily on behalf of Minneapolis and the NAACP. All I can say is we just got done with the federal government investigating the shooting death of Jamar Clark. And despite evidence from dozens of African-American witnesses, the fact that we saw an ambulance video of a police officer violently slamming Jamar Clark to the ground, the fact that Mike Freeman's bogus story did not make any sense to anyone with critical thinking skills, and the federal government investigated and they found no cause to indict those officers. That wasn't even a prosecution. That's just saying bring some charges, let a jury hear the evidence and make a determination. I do not have faith in our justice system. Whether it is the local level, the state level, the county level, the federal government, how often do they hold officers accountable? We need to see President Obama step up before he leaves office. What does he have to lose? By being strong on these issues of policing.
that have plagued his entire administration. And no, he did not invent the problem, but he has the power of the bully pulpit to speak truth to power, and that's what we're asking him to do today. To call upon his administration, to call upon government leaders, like the governors of each of our states that he is on good terms with, to hold police accountable. That's what we need to see as a part of his legacy. So they can come in and investigate, that's wonderful. But I'm not going to hold my breath waiting on the results. I just have to keep it real. Any more questions? And again, that was my own individual personal opinion as a civil rights attorney who's been dealing with police-community relations since at least 2006 and who has seen the community crying out for justice. And what do I see? A lot of political excuse-making instead of proper decision-making, and frankly, I'm tired of it. Any other questions? Yes.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock at J.J. Hill, 998 Selby Avenue in St. Paul.
There are many injustices. There are many injustices going on in St. Paul. Our schools are literally segregated. We don't seem to get the message that 90% of the children in the schools in St. Paul are African American. We don't seem to get the message that the food that we eat is not the same food that the people in the suburbs eat. We don't get the message that our children and our parents, our families, many are homeless and struggling, and yet they are evaluated and graded on the same systems of those who have so much more. I believe that in our hearts, if Black lives really matter, we will start working with those injustices as well as being treated in the way that I am 76 years old. I lived through the civil rights movement. I have seen things deteriorate, and I am so surprised that you live in Minnesota, a quote, blue state with a lot of liberalism, and you are not aware of the dysfunctional nature of the society that we call Minnesota nice.
What you say? What you say?
My question is, when do we stop believing that something will just happen? Because it's not going to unless we stand up for it.
Amen. I would say that that's a rhetorical question that each person needs to answer in his or her own heart. Because whether this movement lives or dies falls on our shoulders. I don't know who else we're waiting for. No Savior's going to come in. And I do believe in Jesus Christ. But he has given us power to be the boots on the ground to fight for change. So if not us, then who? And not now, then when? The ball is in our court. Any other questions? A question?
Yeah. Can the march, if you are legal to permit to carry, can you bring your weapon and protest those marches?
I would say that that's for the parents of J.J. Hill, to answer at this point. Because it's I don't know if it's happening inside or outside of the school. So it's going to depend on that. I would just say use wisdom. Whoever's out there, use wisdom. Yes. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Are you from media or
But I'm
just?
just a community member. I have a question.
Okay.
So I'm a community member, I'm a doctor, I'm a pediatrician, and I'm asking what's being done to support the little girl, Sue Diamond's daughter, and I'm asking what's being done to support all of us through this, and so that's what I'd like to know, please.
I would say we need to ask Diamond if anyone has stepped up and offered support. I would be surprised if that happened. So if you have resources for her daughter that she should be aware of, she may still be here. If not, we can put you in touch with the family for that to happen. After Jamar Clark was killed, we actually requested grief counselors for the community in North Minneapolis. We were told
weeks and months later that grief counselors were available, but that information was never made available to us. So at the time, we called upon our faith community to come out and pray for the people. We asked psychologists, psychiatrists to come out and support the people. And we would issue that same call today. Now, we would place a demand on our government leaders to offer those services to anyone that's in grief, so we can make that demand to Governor Dayton. I'm sure that someone from his staff is watching this rally and press conference. All right? But our faith community leaders need to step up as well. Yes.
I have a question. My name is Suleiman. I grew up in the north side of a refugee from Laos, and I've seen firsthand the community and what it looks like to grow up as, we can say, underprivileged and trying to make it here. And there's a lot of things where I resonate here. I grew up in school learning firsthand Black History Month and knowing that my Black brothers and sisters have paved the way for me as a colored woman in this country. Thank you very much. Now my question is, so it's very beautiful. We have a lot of faces here that are here to support. Now there's people asking, what can we do that can't be here? Is there a letter we can write? Who do we go to? We want our voices to be heard because we have this beautiful freedom of speech. So can you kind of give us, for people who are watching or whatever, recording, people on Facebook want to know, I'm a blogger, so I want to write out there, what can people do? How can we urge our young people, our older people to move this movement forward so it doesn't stay stagnant? We go home, this doesn't end here. People are going to consistently die and be mistreated. So if you can give us some resources, what can we do to keep this going?
Okay, I can give a couple of suggestions. If there's anyone else who's been involved in this movement who wants to chime in, please do. I would say that, number one, we need to put pressure on our elected officials to change the laws. So officer-involved shootings in the state of Minnesota and most jurisdictions typically go to a grand jury. And typically grand juries decide not to indict officers who have killed people. What we saw with Mike Freeman's presentation, which was a farce from my perspective. Again, it's Nakima Levy-Pounds talking as an individual. What we saw with Mike Freeman's presentation was what typically happens behind closed doors. When prosecutors have a captive audience who typically has no real knowledge of the law and who is able to present a one-sided case to the grand jury based on whether or not they want an indictment or not. There's an old saying that a prosecutor can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. It's pretty easy if they want an indictment. So why in the cases of officers who shoot people, who kill people, is it so darn difficult to get an indictment? Well, Mike Freeman showed us why. Because the way you tell the story plays a role. How you treat the testimony of witnesses plays a role. If you know that your audience is ignorant about DNA evidence and you present it as some magic bullet and you don't have any experts to come in and offer an accurate opinion about DNA evidence, then that's going to play a role. So we need to do away with grand juries in officer-involved shooting cases. That's one of the things that needs to happen in the state of Minnesota. And we don't demand that legislation is not going to happen. There was also legislation that was put forward to add a special prosecutor in officer-involved shooting cases that would be responsible for investigating those cases and making a charging decision. And that special prosecutor would be guided by a community advisory board that would include civilians, potentially under the state's attorney general's office. That legislation, I believe, was proposed by Scott Dibble. It didn't go anywhere in this legislative session. I believe he plans to bring it again. The only way that it will be successful is if you apply pressure to your elected officials. Okay? Sometimes, I don't know what you all's political affiliations are, but sometimes we paint just Republicans as the bad guys, and we act like they're the only cogs in the wheel of progress. But sometimes it's our DFL representative. Yep. In all honesty. Sometimes we have a DFL-controlled legislature, and we still don't get justice. So what's that about? They agree, just like the Republicans, on that flawed body camera bill that does more to protect police interests than the public's interests. Something's wrong with that picture. So we need to hold our DFL elected officials just as accountable and call them out just as we would Republicans that we don't like. That's one of the things that we need to do, regardless of skin color. Don't be fooled by the skin color of an elected official. Okay, I treat them all equally. I don't give them a pass, because they're a person of color or because they claim to be liberal. The proof is in the pudding. Like Jerry Maguire, show me the money. If you can't do that, no, keep moving. Beyond that, we need to make sure that citizens have more control over our police forces. So there are civilian review commissions across the Twin Cities, across the state. They are largely ineffective. And part of that is because they don't have any real investigative power. They don't have any real teeth. They don't have a substantial budget. They haven't been trained adequately. And many of the folks serving on those commissions, let's be honest, are pro-police. They've never experienced life on the other side of the tracks. They've never experienced racism and discrimination. They've only had officer-friendly in their neighborhoods a lot of the time. So it becomes difficult when people are alleging excessive force for their cases to be taken seriously. So we need to diversify those boards with conscious people, and we need to make sure that those boards have investigative powers and that they are able to hold police accountable. One of the groups here, Communities United Against Police Brutality, is trying to get on the ballot in Minneapolis office insurance, liability insurance for police officers. Their rationale is that if police officers have to cover their own liability insurance, they're going to act much more carefully on the job. They're not just going to recklessly use a firearm or a taser and expect the city to cover it once somebody sues. That's going to impact their financial well-being if they are held accountable. So that's another suggestion that's on the books. So I'll ask if anyone else here has another thing they want to add.
Not only that, but I'm showing up to state capitol, and I'm not seeing you guys there. Some of us are showing up there. And we need to be in these buildings, these structures of government. The people need to occupy the government. It doesn't work with 17 of us. It works with 70 of us. It works with 700 of us. That's when we push. We get pushed, we push back. And push us into a wall. We have no choice but to push back now. And then ask people around you how they're doing. And in that action, someone might ask how you're doing. And we take care of each other. We do something the police don't do. We need to start taking care of each other. And be conscious of each other. Because we are combating these costumes with our souls.